Hey guys, it's RodimusPrimal. I am back with another video, and today I have a lot of Transformers news to catch you guys up on. I have been out of town for a little bit, and I'm going to get into where I was and why it took me so long. And Hasbro had their live stream today that revealed a lot of stuff, including the Velocitron set, but there's also a G.I. Joe crossover that I still have to talk about, and much more Transformers news to go over. So, of course, I've got a lot to talk about, so sit back, relax, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and let's transform and roll out. So those of you who have been waiting for me to, get to you when the next Transformers retrospective is and why it's going to take me so long. I mean, a lot of stuff has happened, and normally, of course, I talk about my, subscribe to my Patreon and do all the stuff about the channel members and, subscribing, maybe picking up a t-shirt on my Teespring store. And yes, those things are important, and I appreciate all of you who have continued to support the channel, who watch my videos, who support the channel through Patreon and my channel members, and of course those who pick up a t-shirt every now and then. But at the same time, I had to take a little bit of time away from producing more content. I had the Lego Optimus Prime. That was like the last thing that I did. I did a Lego Optimus Prime live stream. Part one, I started the build here on the channel, and a lot of you guys, had made mention I couldn't keep up with the comments, and then I did parts 2 and 3 of the build on my second channel, RodimusPrimal Talks, and then I did a full-on review here on the main channel right before I needed to leave. And what happened was that, I kind of alluded to the fact that my family was going through something, was that my parents, they needed to sell their house because here in New Jersey, we've been taxed exorbitantly, and cost of living has gone up to the point where, living in New Jersey is completely unaffordable. And so they needed to move down to Florida. And so I needed to go down and make sure that they were all set up, and they moved to a nice town down there. And at the same time, it's kind of like, okay, well, now maybe I might actually have to leave New Jersey as well, because the cost of living here in New Jersey has reached a point where my rent has gone up, 25%, and everything else has gone up, it's that much more. And so, yeah, I do have another retrospective video. He is a much bigger character, and there is going to be a couple of other characters that are in line for a couple of stuff that's coming out too. So you can expect some bigger names to come out very, very short, soon too. So you should be excited about that. But I'm going to get into the Transformers news now. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is Symbiote Studios is actually going to be doing more Seekers. I'm actually really excited about this because I really, really love the plush dolls. My kids really love them. They have Optimus Prime, and they have the Catnip Prime, and they have the, Grimlock and Starscream and Bumblebee and Soundwave. And we do need to get, I've said it like 100 times, I still need to get Megatron, but I'm very, very excited about the Seekers because I love Thundercracker and Skywarp. And, Skywarp, I think, is probably one of my favorite Seekers. And so seeing him, seeing the two of them get made as well, and in those awesome colors, for the plushes are really great, because you can't just have Starscream and not have Thundercracker and Skywarp to back them up. Like, it's just kind of one of those things. So if you're a big fan of Symbiote Studios, I believe that they're going to be available for pre-order soon. Now, the next big thing for Transformers is going to be the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, specifically for Funko Pops. I'm not a collector of Funko Pops, but a lot of folks really love, and collect them. And for those of you who are been collecting the Funko Pop specifically for Transformers, having one for Unicron is pretty much a must. And it's going to be a jumbo size pop. So I believe these ones go retail for about $100. I could be wrong. Maybe it could be more. So the limited edition Funko Pop for San Diego Comic-Con is going to be Unicron. And he looks, for a Funko Pop, he looks great. Again, not necessarily something that I collect, but it is something that I'm sure that a lot of people are going to be lining up for at Comic-Con, I believe, in the middle of next month. And I know Hasbro is actually going to be there as well, and a lot of other companies are. I wish I could actually make it out to California, but that's a whole nother discussion. But yeah, it actually is kind of cool looking. So if you are looking forward to a Unicron Funko Pop, go for it. Now, I kind of find it interesting that on the shelves you see stuff from Super 7 in addition to the RED line, and both of them have their fair share of trying to make more show accurate figures when it boils down to it. And you'll know when I get into the RED stuff later in the video. But Super 7 is also making Soundwave, a dead Optimus Prime, and a Starscream figure for their Ultimates. And now these Ultimates, I believe that they're like either 7 or 8 inches. They're $55 as far as retail is concerned, which is rather pricey, but they come with a lot of accessories, and they're relatively posable. I'm not a big fan of the face sculpts especially on Starscream. When I saw the Megatron, I was like, I don't really care for the way that they've sculpted that face. But they come with like different hands. They come with different accessories here, like Megatron in gun mode, or specifically for the dead Optimus comes with his Matrix. And then of course with Soundwave and Starscream, you can swap out the heads to make a more toy accurate head or a Marvel Comics style head. I wonder if one of them will actually have a mouth, if Soundwave will actually have a mouth. It was one of the things that was just really, really weird during the Jose Delbo run of of Transformers, when Soundwave had a mouth during that time. It was just really weird looking. But having the yellow eyes specifically for the toy for Starscream is great. And of course having Laserbeak as a cassette. I don't know if the chest opens up or not, but it is kind of neat to see all of, to see these particular figures. I don't collect the Super 7 ones because I'm more of if it doesn't transform, I really don't have a real reason to purchase it. But for those who want like highly articulated action figures, this is probably for you. The other big announcement is for live action Transformers fans. A lot of live action Transformers fans have been saying, like, for a little while now, like, are they going to do something for the first live action Transformers film, since the 1986 film has now been shown a couple of times, theatrically, on the big screen in more recent years for its, higher numbered up of anniversaries. And now the 15th anniversary for the first live action Transformers film is going to be, July 10th and July 14th. You'll be able to go to the movie theaters, you can purchase your tickets, and you can see the first Michael Bay Transformers film in theaters. Now, you guys know I'm not a big fan of Michael Bay's Transformers specifically, but I am very happy when live-action Transformers fans just get as much love as the G1 fans or Beast Wars fans or, Unicron Trilogy or animated. And that is kind of funny because that's something that Hasbro had actually said that, like, during their live stream today, they were like, yeah, we definitely know and we understand, like, we try to match all the different universes for 40 years of a Transformers franchise. How much more can happen. So I'm very happy that the first live action Transformers film is going to be hitting the big screen again for fans of it. And speaking of live action, Hasbro is now applying for the Rise of the Beasts Terracon trademark. Now, for those of you who have not been paying attention, the Terracons are going to be the main villains of Rise of the Beasts. I believe they're going to have the Autobots are going to find the Maximals, and the Terracons are going to be hunting them and hunting the Autobots as well. And the Terracons are going to be led by Scourge, and we've already seen his truck mode like has this insignia like on the grill, in addition to all the insignias that he's collected over the years. And the two villains are going to be Nightbird and Battletrap, which I've done retrospectives on, but kind of missed out on talking about the Rise of the Beast stuff, but that's neither here nor there. And I'm hoping that this next live action Transformers film is good. I really do. I am actually anticipating it quite a bit because, well, I'm hoping that, because Bumblebee was a really good film. I really enjoyed Bumblebee, and I'm hoping that Rise of the Beast ups the ante, and I'm hoping that the movie is good. And it comes out next year, so we'll see how well it turns out in the end. Now, if we've already seen G.I. Joe do a crossover with Baroness and Megatron as a Hiss tank, that was really cool. That's something that I was definitely looking forward to. I'm definitely looking forward to because, having a Hiss tank is great. A 3 3/4-inch Baroness figure is fantastic. But now we're going to get a G.I. Joe figure too. And for G.I. Joe, there were so many different vehicles they could have done, and I'm willing to bet they're going to have a lot more, specifically around the G.I. Joe crossover. But it's a matter of like, what characters could you do? And what they've decided on was to have Bumblebee transform into an Awe Striker. And he actually comes with one of my favorite Joe characters. I love Sergeant Stalker. And he is one of my favorite G.I. Joe characters. Him and Shipwreck, kind of like rank up there. And there's a couple other characters that I really love too. But, so having Stalker come with an Awe Striker is great. But I really do wish it was Beachcomber or Hound. Those would have been better characters for an Awe Striker. For that particular vehicle. But Bumblebee, I guess he works maybe because they have to make a Bumblebee, figure, because Bumblebee sells, right? And in vehicle mode, he does look good. And I like the fact that, not only can you buy this set and have in vehicle mode, Sergeant Stalker will ride in the Awe Striker, but also could ride in robot mode as well. From the renders, he does look okay. I do dig it. I like the fact that you can have multiple G.I. Joe characters like riding in the Awe Striker. I have a lot of like original 3 3/4 as well as like some of the 25th anniversary stuff. So you can have him riding in there. And of course, in robot mode, could also like be on top of his shoulders as a gunner as well. And that's pretty cool. But again, I think that him as Bumblebee kind of is like one of those missed opportunities where they could have made it Beachcomber, they could have made it Hound, and I think the reason why they decided to make it Bumblebee was because it's a bigger name. That's just the bottom line. They know that Megatron is a bigger name as a HISS tank, and Bumblebee is a bigger name as an Awe Striker. When there are so many other characters that would have been better suited for that vehicle alone, and I guess that was their line of thinking. And then maybe, who knows? I'm willing to bet there's going to be someone who's going to come out with a new head sculpt, like to replace that head, and then we can do our own custom, like Beachcomber or Hound, and or we might actually see a second Awe Striker get released in a second HISS tank as a different character. Who knows? Who knows what other molds that they can actually make out of these particular G.I. Joe figures? I think Megatron works really well. Bumblebee, not so much. Now, the big event today was the Big Pulse fan stream that they decided to release today. And I know I've spent a lot of time talking about other Transformers stuff, but again, I had a lot of news to cover. And so getting right into some of this stuff during this fan stream was pretty cool. There is a virtual reality game that you can play at Dave & Buster's. Now, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never been to a Dave & Buster's, but isn't that a bar? So you got to be 21 to actually be able to go and play arcade games, and on top of that, get a few drinks to be able to play this. So this is a G1 Transformers themed game that is meant for adults. So you got to be an adult to be able to go, and you can go drinking, and you can play some games while you're there. Unless you're able to just go there and just play games as well. But this is going to be a Dave & Buster's virtual reality Transformers themed game as a whole, and there's a bunch of different Transformers that we're already seeing. A lot of the Insecticons, the Constructicons, Optimus versus Megatron. I'm really curious how this virtual reality experience, the Decepticon invasion, is supposed to be. And I believe that it's available now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, that is kind of cool. And then we got ducks. I've been talking to the other Transformers YouTubers out there today, and immediately when this thing dropped, they're like, who's gonna pick up some rubber ducks? I believe it's Numbskull and Tubes or whatever. They're making these Optimus Prime and Megatron themed rubber duckies that you can have for your kids at bath time. So if you're a big Transformers fan and you have younger kids who take baths, this will be right up your alley for rubber ducks. This may be something that my wife might want. It's not necessarily something I'm going to collect. Of course, they talked about the Lego Optimus. I'm not going to get into further detail into that because you guys have already seen my review and you've already seen my live stream for it as well. But the big reveal was for the Velocitron set. Now, this set in particular, I am very excited about. Some of them I'm going to skip. And the reason why is because it's like, I have no need for it. Blur in particular is one I'm probably going to skip, but I've seen a lot of people who are like, yes, this is my Blur. I loved IDW Blur. G1 Blur all the way for me, man. Like, the John Machida Jr. is who the character was made for. That to me is who Blur is. Blur should be fast talking, just like John Machida is. and which is why I love the animated characters, his reprisal of the role. But a lot of people really love the IDW version as well. Some people really love the Shattered Glass figure. So, having that in particular with the wings on the back of his head, and they've retooled a lot of parts out of him. Specifically, I wouldn't mind if they did another character instead of it just being Blur, but I do like the fact that Blur is getting a lot more love. He is the perfect character for this particular set, because you couldn't have a race like this for the fastest Transformers characters and not have Blur be a part of it. And he's been retooled specifically to match his IDW vehicle. I believe it's the Wreckers, Tread, and Circuits 4-issue miniseries is exactly what this whole storyline is about. And which is why the Transformers who are in this set are involved, because they've taken different Transformers characters from different Transformers universes and applied them here. So Blur looks kind of neat in vehicle mode. Again, I'm partial to G1. This is probably one I'm going to skip, but I know a lot of people are going to be excited about this one. But what's also cool is that the packaging for this Velocitron Speedia 500 collection is going to be, which is a Walmart exclusive, by the way, is going with the retro G1 style boxes. It's still going to be an open window because they're doing the whole packaging with the plastics and stuff like that. They're going to, probably wrap it up so that you can't take the figure out easily. Not really. But, it's going to be packaged in vehicle mode, which I think is great. And they also wanted to make mention that all of the figures moving forward in their packaging utilize this, the paper to wrap the weapons behind the box. So don't throw out your box until you've made sure that you've gotten the character's weapons out of the box before you, throw the box and stuff like that away. And they've decided to wrap it in tissue paper, which I think is a little weird place for it, but I guess it works. And that's the way that they started doing it. I know a lot of people for Pterosaur, that's what they were doing for that particular set. And they wanted to make sure that nobody threw out their weapons and then had to call Hasbro and say, we lost the weapon. This is something to alert parents and alert collectors. If you're going to take your figure out of the box, make sure you don't throw out the weapon. Now, one of the next characters is probably on my skip list as well, is the Transformer Burnout. And this is a Diaclone redeco of Skids. And for specifically, it's a female character. Not one that I particularly like the color scheme for, so it's kind of one of those, I already have Skids. Do I need another one of those? Maybe Crosscut. Crosscut would work because it's Road Rage's consort. So kind of like having those particular characters together. But Burnout is a rare character, one that isn't in much, and actually is, according to her bio, she actually is a Diaclone mech that was given life somehow. So, but particularly in 2019's continuity, she's just an Autobot who is part of the Speedia race. So if you are all about that particular character, go for it. And I will say her vehicle mode does look pretty cool in black. I would have liked the silver for Crosscut, for that particular mold. And yeah, so I'm kind of like, it's just not my cup of tea. Now, here is a character that I absolutely want to add to my collection. I do love her color scheme a lot more than RC. I think she fits the mold a lot better. Is the Generation 2 character Road Rocket. Now, the original Road Rocket was a male, but never really had any storyline. It was just, they released a Road Rocket figure as part of the Laser Rods. And so now you're going to have this ninja bot, named Road Rocket. And she has had a lot more storyline in more recent media. And so I am looking forward to seeing her, and I do look forward to actually getting her figure. I think she looks great. She probably, looking at her now, that head sculpt, maybe she might actually work well as a Nightbird, figure. Nightbird as a motorcycle does kind of work in a way, maybe. Maybe they can retool that chest a little bit and try to make her a little bit more like Nightbird, and then that would actually fit the mold a lot better. you know, for maybe a third use. Because I know some people have been trying to figure out, like, what characters could you make? Flame War, you can make, you know, because some people didn't like RC, but Nightbird, I mean, but Road Rocket here, she looks great. She looks awesome. And her shuriken that she comes with, like the way they did is the Energon disc comes together and that actually makes an actual shuriken. I like the fact that it's painted. I like her new head sculpt. I love the color scheme. She looks great. And on top of that, her motorcycle mode, I like the red motorcycle. I really do. You know what? When I'm looking at this motorcycle here now, I'm really thinking about like Prime RC. I wish Prime RC was red. I really do, because it, you know, okay, you want to sit there and say like you couldn't make her pink, so you made her blue, but RC has always been traditionally pink, so making her red is kind of like the next step, right? So looking at Road Rocket, I'm like, man, I really do wish that, you know, Prime RC was red, but Road Rocket fills the mold a lot better than Prime RC figure does. And I like the mold, just the color scheme on this, just it screams, it actually really looks good. So it's definitely on my want list. Now here is a character that I'm going to be honest with you, not only do I want to get him, but I wish that they would do Tiger Track and Deep Cover for, and this is Clampdown. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I like the Earth mold for Sideswipe in particular. I have here Kingdom Sideswipe. This is the one that came with Skywarp. And I also have the Walgreens exclusive Red Alert. Now, the thing about Clampdown is that Clampdown had red legs and he had a red stripe on his bicep. And they decided for specifically for Red Alert to give him the red limbs. And I'm like, you know something? Not only do I want to get Clampdown, but I want to get Clampdown and I want to swap mold the limbs where I can. And I know I'm going to have to pop some pins in order to do that, and that's going to kind of stink. But at the same time, Clampdown's actually a pretty cool character. He's like a tough, you know, and dedicated cop. And looking into his history, and his original figure was the G1 toy, like the Diaclone figures. It was the police. You know, you had what became Sideswipe. This was released in red and in yellow, and the yellow one ended up becoming Tiger Track, and was released during the 2003 time frame. And then Clampdown was the original Diaclone police vehicle, and they decided to redeco that particular figure, Clampdown, with the actual light bar and make Red Alert for Transformers for it. So then in 2003. They released Clampdown in Deep Cover. They took the Diaclone. I believe that there were certain markets where Sideswipe was released in black. So they released Deep Cover in black, and they released, Deep Cover. I mean, and Clampdown was part of that particular set. And they actually gave personalities as Transformers characters for them, which I think is really, really cool. And I know I've gone to a little bit of history on them, but that's because I'm also going to be covering it when I start doing a video on this guy. So yeah, I'm actually very, very excited about Clampdown, and he's going to definitely be part of my collection. And I'm like, do I get Tiger Track and do I get Deep Cover for the Siege mold? Or, you know, because they're not the Earth, vehicles. That's the thing. Like, I'm looking at this one and going, that's the Earth vehicle. Yeah, I definitely want it. And I love the idea of having more characters made from the original Diaclone colors for specific characters. I like Clampdown. I like Deep Cover. I like Tiger Track. Spin Out, Cordon. Not so much some of the other ones like Lift Ticket is really not my thing. But I'm really digging Clampdown. I know I spent a lot of time on this one, but he is definitely on my list. I also thought it was kind of cool that they actually showed both characters together. And the reason why they did is because they're using gray for the limbs and they're using, red on Red Alert. So it's like, I'm going to have to do some swapping here and there in order to change some colors around for the characters in order to make them both accurate to their original toys and their original, and specifically for Red Alert for his original colors, was using white and silver, in certain spots. I may actually do some swapping around. It's just what I'm going to be doing for my own customization. The next big one, Cosmos. Cosmos I'm excited about. And that's because I love this character. I really, really do. when the original figure came out, the Generations figure, Universe one, and then they re-released it a couple years later. I think it was either for Power of the Primes or Titan's Return, and the figure was kind of weird shape to him. Like, how come he's not stocky? How come he's not big? And, you know, how come he doesn't really look like he fits the character? Well, that's because that Cosmos in the IDW comics was rather different than he was in G1. And so, you know, that particular toy works very well, but a big stocky Cosmos, yeah, I'm digging it. Definitely digging it. I love the way this particular figure looks. The gun becomes a checkered flag because he's the guy who's waving the checkered flag at the end of the race. And he has his classic vehicle mode, which is a UFO based on the old 1950s style UFO. And if you guys saw my Cosmos retrospective, I did a whole X-Files thing with him, and I thought that was a lot of fun. And so having the blaster there like this looks great. Really looks awesome. He actually compared both Cosmos figures so you can see how big the new one is in comparison to the old one. The old one was lanky and had some weird proportions. This new one matches the G1 cartoon animation model. So whichever one you're happy with. I have this one, so I'm definitely in the market for the new one. And after seeing like what they've done for other characters, now I want to see what they do for Windcharger and for Brawn and Swerve and Tailgate and you know, Gears. You know, I want to see those particular characters after seeing what they're doing here with Cosmos. Come on, let's do a new Power Glide. I want to see a Power Glide in that scale. Like, that would be awesome. That would just be awesome. Specifically, like, I just recently got the Combiner Wars Power Glide. Not feeling it. Not feeling it. So after seeing what they've done for him, let's see what they can do for Power Glide. So now this is a character that has one of my commenters. I'll call him out. Is somebody who has been leaving in my comments all the time, please give me Hauler, give me Hauler. I love Hauler. I don't get why you love the character, but that's cool. It's your favorite character. Great. Awesome. I covered Hauler in both my Constructicons video and in my Grapple video about who the character is, and so that this way you had an understanding that he was the 7th Constructicon who did not join this other 6 Constructicons to become Devastator. He joined the Autobots, and he came to Earth, took on the grapple color scheme of orange, which is why you see him in the first G1 cartoon episode. And then he decided to go off on his own, taking his familiar green, as he is somebody who goes and tries to find Energon for the Autobots. So he's off on his own kind of thing. And so I think it's kind of cool that they're releasing him in his Constructicon green, which is what they did back in 2000. I believe it was 2003. There's an eHobby exclusive. Was Road Hauler, and they've also fixed him. So if you get a closer look at the figure, I don't necessarily like the open mouth, but they did fix the knob where it goes into vehicle mode, so you don't have to worry about it snapping off. A lot of people had to worry about that with Grapple, so for Hauler, you're not going to worry about that at all, because Inferno, you didn't have that issue either. It is something that they fixed, and in vehicle mode, he looks cool. I really dig it. He's definitely going to be part of my collection. You know something what I like about him is that he's green, so you have Hauler, and you have Bulkhead, and you have Inferno, and you have Grapple. I have Artfire, so you have all of these characters together, and while Bulkhead is a different mold, he does fit in with the rest of them, and I would have Road Hauler kind of like, I would purposefully have him next to Bulkhead and Springer, so you have like a bunch of different green Autobots. It's something very cool. Now here's a character that when I was first announced, I wasn't too thrilled about, but she's grown on me. And if you're not familiar with this character, her name is Override. Or at least in the US, she's Override. In Japan, in Transformers Galaxy Force, was the third part of the Unicron trilogy, was not originally, like the way the anime was written, it kind of ignored a lot of the events of the original Unicron trilogy, which is Micron Legend and Superlink, or as we know them in America as Armada and Energon. But Nitro Convoy was the leader of Velocitron. And in Nitro Convoy was a male character, but when they went to dub it in the US, Cartoon Network requested that there be another female character, another female Transformer. And the one who suited it made it easy to make that transition was Nitro Convoy, and they named her Override in the American dub. So in the English dub, Override is the female character, and I like the idea of the character being female. I really do. Override in particular looks great. I think she actually, like, the original figure was was just as square as she is, but was a little bit wider. And that's because she had the gimmick of the cyber key had to go into the back of the vehicle, and that kind of took up a lot of the space. And whereas this, you don't have to worry about that. She actually looks really good. I do like her vehicle mode. Her vehicle mode has grown on me since I saw the first images. And now seeing this, during the live stream, I'm like, all right, so skipping Blur, skipping Burnout, but Road Hauler, Clampdown, Override is a must, Road Hauler is a must, and the next one is definitely a must as well. And that is Scorch. Yes, that's how I say it. I know it's supposed to be Scourge or whatever. I say Scourge. It's kind of like maybe might be a Northeast New Yorker thing, but yeah, this particular character was part of the Car Robots Black Convoy, was called the Robots in Disguise in America in the year 2000, 2001, called Scorch, and it was a laser Optimus Prime redeco done as an evil clone of Optimus, and he looks great. I will say that. I do like him. I'm actually excited about this particular one. I think that the colors are a little off in some places. I think that maybe his chest should have been gray, but that's just me. And but I do like the red, detailing on him. I think he looks great. I like the mold. I think the shoulders could use a little bit of work. I know that somebody has made some adjustments, and I might actually do so to my Laser Prime in particular. And same thing for his vehicle mode. I love the detailing on him. The gray, actually, I think it looks better than Laser Prime. I think that this particular figure looks a lot better than Laser Prime overall. The original figure looked better than Laser Prime overall. And I know that that's a tough spot because some people really love the Laser Prime deco, but I loved the Robots in Disguise deco much, much, much more. And he's definitely on my must-get list. And he even comes with his own Matrix. It's an evil copy Matrix. It's not the real Matrix. Maybe it's a spark holder, just like Nemesis Prime. Like, that's supposedly the in-canon explanation as to how Nemesis Prime is alive, right? So we'll see. Now, because Top Gun just came out in the movie theaters, they decided to re-release Maverick. So if you missed your opportunity to get Maverick, they wanted to make mention the fact that you can now still get that particular figure. And I missed out on it. I don't like the paint deco, and I don't like the color gray that they've used. But if you paint it, you get a better figure detail. I mean, they wanted to fix some of the packaging detail because since the movie got pushed back, they absolutely had to ensure that the figure came out at the right time. And so now you have your opportunity to get Maverick if you missed him out in the first time. I still need to see the movie because of the whole hoopla with me being out of town. I did not get an opportunity to see Top Gun, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing. I've heard good things about it. I've heard a lot of good things about the movie. So if I should see it and you want to see me review it, tell me, and then maybe I'll review it on my second channel. So yeah. And as I had talked about earlier, that Super 7 is doing their Ultimates figures, and then you have the RED figures kind of like they're almost in competition with one another. So if you pick up the Super 7, Starscream, because you missed out on the first Starscream, figure for RED, and you really like the RED figures, they're doing Thundercracker, which is great, which is, like I said earlier in the video, I would love to see them do both Thundercracker and Skywarp like they're doing with the plushes. So now you have your opportunity to do so with Thundercracker for the RED line, which is a much more affordable, action figure. But some people are not big fans of it because they're not transforming figures. But it's really a matter of what you collect the characters for. If you just want them in robot mode, sometimes collecting the RED figure works, but they're not necessarily in scale with your War for Cybertron stuff. So it's really a matter of what you're looking for. Optimus Prime and Megatron are going to be included for the RED line from the Transformers Prime universe. They already did RC, they're doing Knockout, and now they're doing Optimus Prime and Megatron, which I think is fantastic because every time that they, when that Bulkhead figure came out, everybody was complaining about it that was Prime fans, because they're like, how come you guys get a bulkhead that doesn't look like bulkhead that we want bulkhead to look like? And is the figure good? Because that bulkhead figure is fantastic. Well, they are still accommodating, because they even said in the live stream, Transformers Prime's animation models have a difficult time translating from those particular robots into effective looking vehicles. So if they want the super detailed, robots that you saw in Transformers Prime, they're going to have to take away some of the truck parts. They're going to have to take away some of the vehicle parts in order to give you accurate, robots. And that's what the RED line is doing for you here. So if you want a Transformers Prime, Optimus Prime that is fully accurate to, or as accurate as they can make it, considering, everything. And he looks good. He does look good. I mean, again, I don't collect non-transforming figures. But he comes with his blades. He has his battle mask that's accurate to the animation. And on top of that, he also has, his face. You can remove his head and change it out for a different one, the one that doesn't have the battle mask up. And he has the Transformers aligned version of the Matrix of Leadership, which can go in his chest, which is rather cool. So there's a lot of cool stuff that's coming for RED. But the big one, I think, is Megatron. This Megatron looks great. I do like the design for Transformers Prime Megatron. I'm partial to G1, I'll admit it, which is why I liked the Transformers Prime design, because it took what the first live action Transformers film was and actually did it right for the Transformers Prime animated series. They actually made Megatron look like Megatron. He has his bucket head. He has his arm cannon, right? He has that classic look for design. So I do like the Transformers Prime design for Megatron. I really do love this design. So I'm very happy for Transformers Prime fans that they are getting a version of Megatron. Yes, he's not a transforming figure, but he looks great. His head sculpt looks great. Paint application, both for Prime and Megatron, I think that it might be the plastic or it might be the paint, but it kind of looks like it could utilize, like Megatron could really benefit from silver paint, on him. Optimus, the same thing on his metal parts. But they both come with a lot of cool accessories, not only the blade, but also, some dark energon, weaponry for Megatron is I think is a great accessory as well. So it's all dependent upon if you're a big RED fan. Now, for those of you who are aware that Shattered Glass is doing a reveal, I believe once a month they're doing a reveal. For the next couple of months, they're going to be releasing different Shattered Glass figures for Shattered Glass 2. And they took an Action Master from 1991 that was a European exclusive named Slicer, and they repurposed him as Shattered Glass Wheeljack. And so the Wheeljack of that universe was Slicer, right? And in those colors. So that's exactly how they decided to do it. And what they decided to do for this particular figure is they took the Earthrise Wheeljack and they're releasing him as Slicer, but in the universe of Shattered Glass, it is Wheeljack. It's just, the evil Autobot Wheeljack is named Slicer and uses the Slicer colors. So whether or not you use him for Shattered Glass or whether you use him for a late wave Action Master, because I do have Jackpot. And so having Jackpot would be like an Autobot versus the Decepticon, right? The Decepticon Slicer versus the Autobot Jackpot would be kind of a cool Action Master battle. And he actually comes with the Fast Track / Black Ortici in red, and it's going to be called Exosuit. And the reason why it's called Exosuit is because the original figure was like that. So who was Slicer, right? This was Slicer. The original figure itself was an Action Master Wheeljack that came with a Dune Buggy Exosuit that transformed from Dune Buggy into an Exosuit for Slicer. And that's exactly what they've decided to do here. So for the figure itself, here is Wheeljack or Slicer, however you want to call the character. For me, I'll call him Slicer. I'll probably put, if I actually get this particular figure, I'm going to put a regular Decepticon symbol on him so he's not in the Shattered Glass universe. And he comes with some pretty cool weaponry that incorporates to him in his vehicle mode. His vehicle mode looks phenomenal. I love this blue color scheme. And I also love the weaponry that the exosuit can attach to him with. So all of the parts that it comes with, because he's a weaponizer, that's the reason why they decided to utilize the fast track, mold, is to make him a weaponizer that does turn into a robot, which is something that the original exosuit for Slicer did not have. And still has his vehicle mode, which is great as well. So definitely some cool stuff out of this. And, it's something that I was not expecting to really get big into myself when I was like, okay, Shattered Glass. Like, I'm really not into some of the Dark Universe's version of those characters. Some people love the Shattered Glass color schemes. But when you're already talking about an existing character from another universe and you're just repurposing it for the Shattered Glass universe, like specifically, Powered Convoy, and in this case, Slicer, yeah, this is one of those where, like, yeah, you pick these up because you're going to add them to your G1 universe, but if you're a fan of Shattered Glass, you add them to your Shattered Glass shelf. It's all a matter of how you display your collection. So again, like I said before, this is what I was talking about, how they incorporate Jackpot versus Slicer. So you're going to have an Action Master versus an Action Master, except they do transform. I'm really excited for all of these particular figures. Most notably, like I said, like there's a few that are on my must-get list and a few on my skip list. And for some people, that's just the way that it is. I mean, the way that Transformers works as a franchise is like you buy the ones that you like and the ones that you can afford. And if you can't afford them and you can't get them, don't want them, that's really up to you. And that's why I always say, what do you guys think? Always leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I say that all the time, right? Because I always want to hear what your guys' thoughts are. And I'm appreciative of those of you guys who have been watching my videos and continue to leave comments and let me know what you guys think. So be sure to thumbs up this video, subscribe, check out my other videos as well. I've got more coming down the pipeline. So stay tuned for all of that. And as always, guys, until next time, till all are one.